Good day there, once again viewers. This is Kamikaze78 here, come to you guys for the first time with a vlog. So guys, if you may or may not know, we hit 5,000 subscribers last Friday, I think it was, and I promised that I would be doing a Q&A to celebrate 5,000 subscribers, pretty much gathering your guys' questions, and then pretty much answering them to the best of my ability, assuming that they were appropriate. Now, what I also promised for the Q&A is that I would be revealing a face. I would be revealing my face, so you guys finally have a face to put to the voice, and you can pretty much relate as to what I look like whenever I'm talking. Now, I'm not entirely sure that my face sort of suits my voice. I don't know. I'll leave that decision up to you guys. But pretty much, guys, here it is. Here is my face, and this is basically how you can relate to me from here on out. Yes, the rumors are true. I am a ginger. So if you have any ginger jokes that you'd like to share, please feel free to chuck them in the comments section down below. I don't mind whatsoever, guys. I've kind of heard it all by now, and in all honesty, I don't really care. I actually find them quite funny. So if you have any original ginger jokes, please feel free to chuck them down below. But guys, without further ado, I think it's finally time that we got into your guys' questions. So the first couple of questions we have here is by 42 the Newbie and Seal Drop. Now, they pretty much want to know the history of my channel name and how I spawned the YouTube channel name, how I spawned Kamikaze78. And I'll be honest, it's not the most normal name that you could ever come across when it comes to YouTube. Pretty much how it happened is back in the day when I was starting, or when I was pretty much entering my my gaming experiences and entering basically how I started off gaming. This was back when I was really young, back when I was a really young child. I got an Xbox 360 and I decided, hey, I'm going to start exploring the internet. I'm going to start getting myself onto the internet. So I created an Xbox Live account, and it said I had to create a new name for that account. And my current name of, like, whatever it was something really, really weird. And I decided, okay, how am I going to brand myself on this internet or on the Xbox Live? And basically, back in the day, I liked flying. I enjoyed flying, but there was one catch. I sucked at it a lot. I really was not a good flyer. And I had to decide, okay, how am I going to build upon this? Because I don't want to shy away and say, yeah, guys, let me fly, and then I end up embarrassing myself in front of the entire team and hostile team, and if possible. So I thought, okay, how am I going to build upon this? So I decided, kamikaze, that's something, you know, planes crash into aircraft carriers back in World War II, or Japanese planes did that. It was a very effective tactic that they did, as a matter of fact. So I thought, okay, I'll just use that. And the standard kamikaze with a K was taken, so I decided, okay, I'll just chuck in a C there instead. And then that was taken as well, so I decided, alright, I'll just chuck a random number. First number that came to my head for some weird reason was 78, so I just chucked that into the name, and here we are with Kamikaze78 today. It's something I've kind of stuck with my entire life. I had the opportunity to change it for PlanetSide 2, never did, so I decided, why not stick with it? Let's just keep Kamikaze78 as the channel name. And, well, it's original, and it's sort of, you know, brands me as an individual, I guess. And the C in Kamikaze78 also has a purpose to it as well, which I'll get into a little bit more detail in a few seconds, as that is a lot of people come into my YouTube comments and say, by the way, you spelled kamikaze wrong. I'm like, no, that's purposeful, trust me, it's meant to be there. And people just, you know, they're like, no, you spelled it wrong, and you are wrong, and I'm right. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. Grammatically, you are right. In my sense, you are wrong. So I'm going to get into that in a bit more detail in a few seconds. Anyway, the next couple of questions we have here from Seal Drop is your favorite bases in PlanetSide 2. I'm quite enjoying the new Quartz Ridge camp after that received its bit of a revamp. I really do enjoy the Quartz Ridge camp now. I quite enjoy the Freya amp station design, and if you are unaware of that, it's pretty much the amp station that has multiple capture points inside of the main walls. But those capture points also are linked to a spawn room, so whenever you capture a point, you gain a spawn room. I think that's a very nice mechanic for bases, and I do quite enjoy it. It's not a base, but my favorite place to fight, like the place where I've had the best fights in the history of PlanetSide 2, is is the patch of land between Xenotech Labs and Regent Rock Garrison. Just that small hill. I've had so many nice fights there, and even though it's resulted in a huge grind, that's something I really like about PlanetSide 2, and something where I find to have some of my most fun fights is that place, are those areas in between bases. And if you can get a stalemate going there, it can lead to a really, really immersive and really, really enjoyable fight. That just simply doesn't happen every time you go to capture a base. So that's something I really enjoy about the fighting mechanics in PlanetSide 2. But if I ever want to grind, or if I ever want to cert grind, or if I want to cert farm, then in all honesty, it's going to have to be bases such as the Watchtowers, TI Alloys, and Biolabs. Those are my most grindable bases out there, because, you know, I play primarily NC, and we have shotguns, jackhammers, and NC maxes. So those are pretty much the easiest place to us to farm and things like that. Now, Seal Drop also wants to know what's my opinion on cute little baby seals. They're baby seals. I guess they're pretty cool. I'm sorry, I really can't I can't expand on that much whatsoever. So Sean Keller wants to know, what kinds of things are you interested outside of gaming? Not personal, just like hobbies and stuff like that. So, whenever I have free time, or whenever I'm out on holidays, or whenever I'm doing stuff like that, I always enjoy drawing. If you guys are on my Twitter, you may have seen a drawing that I uploaded. Pretty much I decided I'm going to take a Koenigsegg, a Lamborghini, and McLaren. I'm going to draw that. I'm going to turn it into some sort of Hot Pursuit sort of thing, like a Need for Speed Hot Pursuit scene, because I quite like the Need for Speed series, even though I haven't really had time to play it that much. But in all honesty, I like drawing. I hop onto the guitar every once in a while, even though I'm not that great at it whatsoever. And I'm trying to think of what else. I'm quite into motor vehicles. I really do like my V8 supercars. Now, if you're unaware of what the V8 supercars is, it's pretty much the local Australian touring car series. It's the local Australian touring cars. It's kind of like the F1, the Formula 1, except the cars are much more bulkier, and they have a bit more of a they can take a bit more damage. And that's what I really like about the V8 supercars. You know, if they crash into each other, it can be kind of eventful. And I just like the casual Holden versus Ford sort of rivalry, even though Volvo and Mercedes and Nissan are starting to get into the sport. It's a really fun series, and I always enjoy watching it, and I always tune in for the endurance races especially. But even then, I'm sort of going off topic here. And that pretty much answers your question, Sean Keller. Alright, so McTavish has a total here of 4 questions. So McTavish asks, do you have a job, or are you a student, self-employed? If yes, then what are you doing or studying? So currently I am doing full-time education, with YouTube being somewhat my part-time job, assuming I can get enough income off of it. I love doing YouTube as a hobby, but YouTube takes up so much of my time to the point where I kind of need it to be a part-time job if I want to continue doing it. But I am doing full-time study. I'm currently taking like standard English and mathematics courses, but I'm also taking media, I'm taking programming, and I'm also taking 3D animation, because those are a couple of career options that I'm thinking about doing in the future. Those are some things I'm interested in. And media, I'm hoping that will somewhat build on the channel, and I'm also very interested in the development of media and certain things like that. He also asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate PlanetSide 2 compared to other online shooters? So, in order to really answer this question, you kind of have to break it down. In all honesty, when it comes to size, scale, replayability in a way, PlanetSide 2 would be a higher ranking game above other games. I don't know, PlanetSide 2 is a very unique game in the form of how open it is, the fact that there are no matches, the fact that it's something that in my opinion, it's something that I find really hard to play for a small half an hour and then log off instantly. I can't do that. That's something that would kind of throw me off, and that's where other games like Titanfall, Call of Duty, the Battlefield games really do seem to do better than PlanetSide 2, in the form in which you can have a quick game of those and the match will be over, it'll reward you what you accomplished in that match, and then you can log off, or you can play one more round depending on how much time you have. So PlanetSide 2 I find to be much, much better if you're planning to play for a longer period of time, and if you plan on playing on the multiple factions, then it's also a really replayable game. But in the form, if you want to have a quick game, or if you really want to get in and out of a game really, really quickly, then the smaller scaled shooters on the market are going to be a little bit more accustomed to your gaming style, I reckon. Just my personal opinion in that instance. So the next question he has, do you like the state that PlanetSide 2 is in? What would you like to see changed, added, improved in the near month or so? So when it comes to the state of PlanetSide 2, currently I quite like it. I don't really have anything against PlanetSide 2 at this given point in time. If there's one really big revamp that I would like to see added in PlanetSide 2, it'd be different base capture mechanics. So we all know that each base has the standard capture mechanic. Have point A, point B, point C, point D, point F, however many points there are at a base, which is fair enough. That's a very standard capture point mechanic, and it's sort of, it allows for all these different maps, so to speak, aka bases, to have these different playstyles to them. Now, in all honesty, I'd like to see PlanetSide 2 incorporate some new base capture mechanics. So, for example, if you took game modes such from Battlefield 4, for example, what I would like to see, in all honesty, is I'd like to see more base capture mechanics in the form in which I'm trying to think of how to explain this. So basically, if you have a rush game mode, for example, instead of having to capture these capture points, you'd have to arm these MCOMs, or not even MCOMs, like these computer desks at the base, or this critical SCU, kind of like how you arm SCUs and shield generators, except these MCOMs, so to speak, would have a higher capture time. They would take longer to capture, giving the defenders enough time to react to an attacker's movement, and it would give the attackers enough time to kind of push in and to reinforce the position if the defenders get in there. I'd just like to see some more base capture mechanics. I'm not sure how SOE could possibly implement this, but I reckon it would add a little bit more replayability to a base. It would add, you'd be chugging down the line to the next base, or on the last link you'd say, alright boys, we just captured that base, but the next base we're about to capture requires us to arm these 2 critical points and make them explode instead of having to capture them. So I think that would add a little bit more replayability. It would allow outfits to incorporate new tactics into their gameplay, and I reckon it would make gameplay a little bit more lively. But that's just my personal opinion. That's something I would like to see implemented into PlanetSide 2 in the next few months or so. And of course, we've got the mission system coming, which I'm very happy about, and we've also got new weapons and the Valkyrie in the very long term. And speaking of the Valkyrie, McTavish would like to know about my thoughts about the upcoming 4-man Valkyrie air vehicle. Personally, it all depends. It's kind of early to tell at the moment. It all depends as to how it is implemented into the game and how SOE kind of brand it. If it is a fast attack aircraft, I think it could be kind of interesting. If it's a small squad transport aircraft, I think it could be kind of interesting. I plan on doing a video on this Valkyrie when we get more details about it, possibly when it hits the test server, but again, that's for long-term plans. So Bob Bill would like to know how old I am and where do you live, Canada or US? So let me clear up something real quick. I don't live in either Canada or US. I am an Australian citizen. So there goes, I'm in Australia. So if you want to ask me any questions about kangaroos or how deadly it is outside, please feel free to do so. But the question is of how old I am. I've always been a little bit skeptical about answering this one, but I figure it's kind of time. I'm currently 16 years of age. I know that might surprise a few amount of you. I've got a lot of people tell me, oh, you sound 20, you sound 25, you sound at least like you're in your 20s. No, guys, I'm only 16 years of age, and I'm turning 17 really, really soon. So Uncool Noob wants to know what my real name is, and my real name is Cameron. So that's also where Kamikaze78 came from. So Kamikaze78, it kind of relates, and I thought, make it smart, make some sort of relation between my real name and my internet name. And he also wants to know how old I am is, and there you go, answered as of before with Bob Bill's question. Now moving on, Dragon SK Siddons wants to know what inspired you to start making YouTube videos on a regular basis. Well, the first thing, I started way back about 1.5 years ago, and I decided I want to try this out. Because I play PC games a lot. Recording will be easy. Let's just see what happens when I upload a video to YouTube. Will it be fun? Will it be a painful process? So I uploaded my first ever video to YouTube after figuring out that I had to compress the thing first, because I tried to upload like a 200 gigabyte video, and that was just no. So I ended up uploading my first ever YouTube video. I decided, was pretty fun. I'm going to start doing it over and over again. So I started uploading some more Skyrim content, moved into Battlefield, and the more and more I got into it, the more and more editing techniques I started implementing, the more and more general content I started to introduce to the channel, and I found PlanetSide 2. I started uploading PlanetSide 2 content. That got some relatively decent feedback in which it felt really, really good, and I decided I could build upon this. This could be a fun business for me to follow. So that's how pretty much I got to date. I found it fun. I found it enjoyable. It allowed for me to share my passion of the video gaming industry to you guys. It allowed for me to build on my knowledge from the video gaming industry and my knowledge of certain game mechanics, to sort of give my general tips and tricks to you guys, and to somewhat apply my knowledge and to help out the wider community, in which I always like helping out people, and I always like sharing my experiences with people. So that's kind of what built upon the channel. Now, Ray William wants to know, what is your KD? Now, my KD overall I think is a 1.9 in PlanetSide 2, assuming that's the game that you wanted to know where PlanetSide, or which game I had my KD in. Pretty sure that's what you wanted to know. If it's not, well, I can correct that in the comment section down below. Now, Miko's Gaming wants to know, do you love that Miko888 guy from AG7? Now, Miko888 is a outfit member, and he's obviously being a bit of a troll here, but of course, he's a great guy. He's a fun guy, fun to play with, all that fun stuff. Now, Nick Perea, sorry if I probably should have disclaimed this earlier, guys, but I do apologize a lot if I happen to pronounce any of your names incorrectly. It's not that I'm illiterate, it's just, well, actually it kind of is, but you guys get the point. He wants to know, is there a Lady Kamikaze 78? And the question is no, I do not currently have a Lady Kamikaze 78, but hey, maybe one day. Who knows? Who knows? So, Jalamaz wants to know, what do you think about the lack of diversity in TR weapons? So, I didn't really know, this is kind of a touchy question for me. I don't really think the TR have an overall lack of weapons. I will admit their trait of having the faster rate of fire with the lower damage profile can get a little bit repetitive, and the lower reload time, or the longer reload time I should say, and the higher magazine size, it is a bit of a repetitive trait. I do feel that the NC weaponry is a little bit more diverse, because we have more damage profiles, we have more unique weapons, and the overall NC arsenal, in my opinion, is a little bit more versatile as opposed to the TR arsenal, and I will admit their stuff is a little bit more repetitive. But even then, as soon as I go over to TR, it seems a bit of like a new experience for me, considering that I am a primarily new conglomerate player. So whenever I get onto a new faction, it's kind of like, ooh, shiny, new stuff for me to try. But yeah, that's pretty much my opinion on TR weaponry. Sorry, I couldn't be a little bit more specific on that one, guys. Now, Sanduro-kun wants my opinion on faction balance at the moment, especially TR compared to VS and NC. I was going to say, overall, I quite like the faction balance at the moment. Seems balanced to me. I don't really have anything against how the game is going at the moment. I'm trying to think of any outrageous balance issues. But off the top of my head, I can't really think of any. I probably should have had a good think about that question before I ended up answering it. But at this given point in time, I don't have any quarrels with faction balance. No, sorry, I really can't think of anything at the moment that I have a huge quarrel against. If anything, I still have a bit of an issue with the air game as a result of the design of the Scythe and the Mosquito in comparison to the Reaver. I've always found that the Reaver is too bulky, it's too much of a target to hit, and from all angles, it's just too easy, it's too big in comparison to the Scythe, which is thin, and in comparison to the Mosquito, which is not very wide. Both profiles kind of make it harder to hit, or make a Mosquito and a Scythe to hit from certain angles, where the Reaver is just a big box on every way you look at it. So I do kind of hope that the Reaver somewhat gets a bit of a appearance buff in the process. I'm not entirely sure about that one in the coming days. But Lucky Splish, aka Redbeard Roy, would also like to know my opinion on the Vanu Easy, TR Medium, and NC Hard kind of stereotype, and basically my opinions on that stereotype. And in all honesty, I will say this: I have a strong feeling that the VS and the TR do get it slightly easier in comparison to the NC. Now, I'm not saying that on the wider scope of things. I do agree that the NC have got some very easy weapon to use, and they've got the shotguns, which are arguably, when people say they require no skill, I would argue against that, but that's another question, or that's another topic in the coming days. But I feel as though some of our starting weapons, such as the NC, or such as the bolt drive, such as the gas saw, they do require higher skill to use. Now, the reason I say this is the gas saw is so new player in-friendly. It has a high recoil, it's got slow rate of fire, so it's going to be harder for newer users to get the hang of that weapon. Now, when it comes down to the Vanu Sovereignty and the TR equivalents, the TR get the TR9 Carve, which is a very, in my opinion, easy weapon to use, assuming you get into the correct ranges, and the Orion for the VS, which is also very easy to use, assuming you can counter this lower magazine size. And then you take the NC-14 bolt driver. Now, while some may argue that it's a bolt-action rifle, it requires you to get a single headshot and then it's game over. But for newer players who are new to the first-person shooter range, it's harder for them to predict where the sniper rifle or the bullet drop in a bolt-action sniper rifle, it's harder for them to predict it overall. Now, in comparison to a semi-automatic weapon where they can just pick it up and spam bullets in the general direction respectively, assuming that you time your rounds well, which, I don't know, it just seems easy in my opinion. And each faction has their benefits, but I do feel to a newer player, VS and TR is a bit of an easier faction to play. Now, Strix would like to know, what would be the first thing you removed, added, or balanced to the game, in essence, for the first big change? So, for example, the composite Liberator armor shouldn't be able to soak up 4 to 5 AP Vanguard shields, 150 armor-piercing shells versus a single solitary thing that armor-piercing rounds were designed to destroy. A bit of a mouthful there, guys, I'm sorry. But again, I answered the question kind of earlier. I'd like to see some new base capturing mechanics. And what would I have removed from the game? This is a good one. What would I have removed from the game? In all honesty, at first I would have removed the ideology that you could spawn camp, or the ideology that people could stay in the spawn room for as long as possible. There were a lot of extreme methods that were suggested in all media, in all forms of media about spawn camping, and how sitting in the spawn is never going to get anything done. Even if you charge out a spawn room, it may very well, it may do your faction more good than just sitting in there when you think all hope is lost and things like that. In all honesty, I'd like to see a mechanic, and this has been mentioned up before on some form of social media. I know I'm probably taking someone's idea here, but I think it's a really good idea, so I'm going to reiterate it anyway. But in my opinion, there should be a system where every minute or so a spawn room, or once a population inside of a spawn room gets too clustered or too crowded, there should be some kind of law behind it saying the nanites in this area are starting to go crazy and overload or something like that. If there's too many nanites in such a small area, you have 10 seconds to get out of the spawn room before the spawn room goes volatile or something like that. I reckon that'd be a really, really cool mechanic, and it would kind of help diminish this KD dominant mindset that a lot of players in the PlanetSide 2 community have. Everybody in the PlanetSide 2 community, I know for a fact, or most people at least, are really, really precious about their KD. And you've got to keep in mind that KD is something that is not really important in PlanetSide. The larger objective is that's how PlanetSide 2 works. That's how the mechanics are designed to work. So, in my opinion, a spawn room flush kind of mechanic would be kind of beneficial, and that's something I would have kind of added to the game, and would have in turn removed the spawn camping issue that we have today. But anyway, moving right on along. Eric kind of would like to know what my favorite class is and what my go-to weapon is that I use for that class. So my go-to class, this is a difficult one, because I kind of try to spread out my classes and how often I play them. I try to get a grasp of every single class as often as I can. I can really branch that down into 2 points. If I was going to be a supportive role, my go-to class would be a medic, because I just like playing the medic. It earns me certs, and it's fun being supportive. The medic actually accomplishes its role very nicely by, by pretty much focusing on a assaulting role as well as a lot. Oh, excuse me, guys, just breakfast. allows for a supportive roll to be achieved whilst you have the capability of dealing some damage to the enemy, which is also a very, very fun combination. And if I was going to be a full-out beast and try and engage people as often as I could, then the heavy assault easily. And Republic MTDV, to add on to that question, again I probably reiterated this. What is your favorite weapon for that? What's your favorite weapon for that go-to class? My go-to weapon for the heavy assault depends on the range, but if I'm in most ranges, the Gauss Saw, simply because I just love that thing. I'll use it at close quarters, I'll use it at long range, I'll always end up using the Gauss Saw. I really do love that weapon. And when it comes down to the combat medic, the Carnage AR. The Carnage AR was the first assault rifle I Araximed, and it is the primary assault rifle that I use today. It's just an amazing weapon. It has so much versatility, and if you chuck the right attachments on, it does become an absolute killing machine, and does become somewhat a headshot machine. And Eric would also like to know, what vehicle do you love the most, and how can I say no to my honest Vanguard, or to my Manguard, as I like to call it. I know it's a little bit imbalanced at the moment, and it is something that does need a little bit of balance, and SOE are planning on touching on the Empire-specific tank abilities in the April update, but I just love my Vanguard. It wrecks everything, and assuming I can get to the right location to get behind those tanks, behind enemy prowlers, behind enemy mag riders, you can have a little bit of a field day. So I'll just leave it at that. I personally love my Vanguard over everything else. Now, Matter ULB, this is a couple of interesting questions. I would like to know your feeling about the new continents. Members of my outfits are now saying that Indar is typically a Zerg continent, Amarish is perfect, and Ezimir looks pretty old. Do you agree? I personally feel like SOE worked harder on the Amarish revamp more than the Ezimir one. And in all honesty, mate, I will agree with you on that one. I'll just say that Ezimir, in all honesty, was an update so it could receive the ladder system, and then they simply chucked walls all over the place. Which is something that's a little bit contradictory in my opinion. You know, you have these walls everywhere, and Ezimir is designed to be the armor-based continent. The reason for this being is that upon capturing it, you earn 10% off of your armor purchases. Now, again, this kind of suggests to me it's supposed to be the armor-based continent, and when you add walls over the place, what's the armor supposed to do? In my opinion, sometimes armor is meant to bombard infantry. It's meant to be a supporting artillery, and that's when you call in your air to deal with that armor. But when you add, in all honesty, I reckon SOE could have been at least a little bit more creative to ensure that spawn camping with the armor and point camping with the armor was not a possible thing. Just by changing the geometry or adding buildings in clever places and maybe adding a couple walls here and there. But I don't think the excessive amount of walls that were added into Ezimir were really justified. And I also think that Amarish is pretty damn well perfect. The bases are new, they're different, they incorporate interesting mechanics, and they all provide something different without having to add walls everywhere. And armor is still effective, it's not a Zerg fit, the ladder system is very, very nicely implemented. I think Amarish is pretty damn well perfect. And Indar, again, I think is just, I'm pretty damn well bored of Indar nowadays. It is a bit of a Zerg fit in my opinion. You could just build a Zerg up, you can roll through everything and you will destroy it. Whatever's in your way, anything at all, whatever faction you're playing as, anything that gets in your way, and it's not going to last 5 minutes. And the only reason that you guys see me playing on Indar whenever I do a video is simply due to the fact that Amarish and Ezimir are often dead on the Briggs servers. Very, very unfortunate, but that's just the mindset of the Briggs players, and that's thanks due to our population. Now, Matter ULB also has a second question for us, and this is a very interesting question. This got me thinking for a bit. As a colorblind, I find it difficult to differentiate enemies from allies. I did all of the changes on my settings, but I still think it shouldn't be possible to get similar camos for all factions. What's your opinion on that? It's a very specific situation you have there, mate. Of course, I have sympathy for you being colorblind and all that. And I do believe that there are some colorblind settings that you can set yourself in the settings area. So you can make Vanu and TR red, and you can make NC blue, or whatever your faction is. And I do understand where you're coming from, and I do understand that, considering it's so hard to spot, you can't really spot targets in all instances. So in order to fix that situation, you do kind of have to just shoot at whatever's there. And that can result in team killing, or could result in a legitimate kill. You have no idea. And I do kind of agree with you, that will be a hard situation. And it is a very specific situation, and that's why I think that, you know, the camo situation currently is kind of more focused on giving as many players as possible so much, it gives them pretty much as much customization as they can offer. You've got to keep in mind that once a camo is released for a certain faction, people are going to start saying, oh, why wasn't this released for TR? Why wasn't this released for VS? All of that certain stuff. So it comes with complications, and considering that camos have already been bought and for specific characters, and if you were to pretty much take that away from people, there's going to be a huge backlash. So whilst I am sympathetic for you being colorblind, mate, and I'm trying to help out as much as I can here, it kind of does bring up many more complications if you were to take away camo from certain players. That would result in a huge backlash, and it kind of does remove some of the customization that PlanetSide 2 attempts to offer. So Jordan DeGazio wants to know, do you think PlanetSide 2 will survive 2014? And if the PlanetSide 2 SOE devs come through with all the updates in which they have planned, and then they focus on ensuring that these updates are worth it, and then they ensure that these updates are well implemented, then yes, I do think PlanetSide 2 will get through 2014 real easily, in combination with the PlayStation 4 release of PlanetSide 2 coming very, very soon. And this is also a very commonly asked question from you guys. Are you ever going to be covering, or are you ever going to be getting the PlanetSide 2 on the PlayStation 4? And the answer to that is no, guys. I don't have a PlayStation 4, don't plan on getting one for a long period of time. And as a result of that, I won't be getting PlanetSide 2 for the PlayStation 4. But I do think that PlanetSide 2 will survive 2014, assuming everything is implemented correctly and smoothly. Now, we're getting to the end of all these questions here, guys. You guys really did ask me quite a few of these questions, and I have tried to answer them with the best of my ability. But the Alienations wants to know, do you plan on posting other things than PlanetSide 2 and Titanfall? So, currently, the short answer is no. At the moment, I plan on focusing currently on PlanetSide 2 and Titanfall. But who knows? If another game comes out, I may very well cover it. I'm quite interested in Watch Dogs, and I'm considering doing a Let's Play on that one, depending on, you know, whether I feel like it or not, whether I can fit it into my time schedule. And Alienation also wants to know, do you plan on posting Destiny content? And the answer to that is no, simply because the game doesn't really interest me, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a console exclusive, and I don't have a console that is up to date. I mean, I have an Xbox 360 lying around somewhere, but I'm still not planning on plugging that thing back in, simply because I can't use a controller anymore, and I'm not interested in it. So Destiny will be giving a miss on my channel, and I do apologize for that. And to finish things off, guys, O'Rare asks me, will you be making PlanetSide 2 funny moments montages with other YouTubers and subscribers? So yesterday I kind of updated my my Patreon page reward system, and how we're going to be incorporating the outfit ops into the Let's Play series from here on out. So I may incorporate some funny moments from there, and how we can incorporate that, just take some highlights from the Let's Play reel and kind of incorporate it into a funny moments or into a montage of some sort. I don't know, guys. It's a possibility. I'm considering now that you've actually asked that, but that's all in the long term. Plus, if I'm going to do it with other YouTubers, we actually have to get together and play together. And judging that we all have very busy time schedules, that could be a little bit of a difficult thing to do. And I'm in a completely different time zone to the majority of YouTubers that are out there in the big wide world that cover PlanetSide 2. So as a result of this, it is going to be a little bit harder to do. So, yeah, guys, excuse me, just clearing my throat there. But that does wrap up this Q&A vlog. That's all the questions that you guys had for me. And I hope you guys can finally relate a face to the voice a little bit easier. If you can, please make sure to backhand that like button, guys. And if you are interested in seeing more content, make sure to stay subscribed. More PlanetSide 2 content and Titanfall content coming to you guys really, really soon. Like I explained in the last video, I have hit exam period, so I'm a little bit busy at the moment, but I am planning on getting back into things really, really quickly for you guys. So guys, once again, hope you enjoyed the video. Peace out, and I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.